that he was gonna be a superstar. I was like, why? He's like, because, you know, he raps. See, back then, he knew who I was because I worked on, you know, one of his favorite albums at the time, which is Mos Def's Black on Both Sides. And I remember, you know, when he was telling me who he was and like what he's done, I remember seeing his name on you know, credited on certain albums, but I just don't remember. I didn't remember the songs because I never purchased those albums that he did production for. You know, so he went down his list of songs that he did, and I was like, nah, I never heard it. Then he told me he produced The Truth by Beanie Siegel. That was my favorite song out at the time. So I was like, oh man, that song is super dope. So I gave him props. Back then I had like 2 or 3 raps in my catalog, and he was a rapper. That's what a lot of people don't realize. You know, he was a rapper before he was a producer. You know, so he just started like busting these raps for me, and we were going back and forth. Like, so he said his rap. I was like, oh man, it was real dope. So then I did my rap, did his rap, did my rap, and I think I was done after that. And he just kept going. So he kept rapping and rapping. I was like, oh man, this dude's kind of fresh. So then like the studio was shutting down that night. You know, everyone's going to their respective places and stuff like that. And at the time, I lived in Newark, New Jersey, so I'm taking the train. You know, so we're both taking the train, going to the subway. So it turned out, you know, I thought he was following me because I'm going to New Jersey. So it turned out that we both lived in Newark, New Jersey. So Kanye lived like downtown Newark, and I lived like all the way on the other side of Newark. So the following day, you know, I invited him over to the crib. I mean, we were just bugging out that we both lived in Newark. So then the following day, I invited him over to the crib. We wound up like hanging out. Like, you know, of course, you know, we did the whole studio thing, showing him beats and stuff like that. And we wound up playing like PlayStation, watching DVDs and stuff. I used to collect DVDs back then. And then the day after that, I went to his place, and you know, we pretty much did the same thing over there. And then like we just started hanging out like pretty often. Since 2001, you know, so, and then the crazy thing is like we both started coming up at the same time, like, you know, we both getting our money up from, you know, selling music. So we both wound up moving around the same time, not knowing where the other one's going. So I wound up moving to Jersey City on the border of a town called Hoboken, and he wound up moving to Hoboken. Now the thing is, like, the entire town of Hoboken is 1 square mile. So again, like, we were like right down the block from each other there. Years ago in the past, you know, we've had conversations about like, you know, who is the better, you know, like rapper producer, Diamond D, was it, you know, Large Professor Diamond D, or was it Pete Rock, you know, was it Q-Tip and stuff like that. We've had conversations like that in the past. But yeah, nah, oddly enough, we rarely talk music. You know, we just talk about, you know, everything else, like what's going on in our lives, you know, snapping on each other or whatever. Back when I was a kid, I was in my mid-teens, you know, I used to sell records with, I used to work for John Carrero, who was one of the biggest record brokers in the 90s on the East Coast. And you know, eventually he started buying equipment for me to use, like, you know, samplers and sequencers and stuff like that. So at the time I was using the Sonic ASR 10. I believe that it just came out like around that time. So, you know, I was using that sampling. I didn't, you know, the beats that I was making wasn't that great, you know, but it wasn't whack either. So one day I'm at John's crib making beats, like, you know, going through records and stuff. Q-Tip walks in, you know, and Q-Tip, he's one of our regular customers and stuff. And while the beat's still going, he brings Large Professor over. Like, then, you know, my mouth just like dropped wide open. I was like, oh man, Large Professor. You know, because Main Source Looking at the Front Door is my favorite song of all time, like in music history, the history of music. Like, that's my favorite song. So when he walks in with a big knapsack on and stuff like that, and he just starts freestyling to my beat. So he called me, like in his freestyle, he called me 88 Keys because there was no introductions made, and he didn't know my name. So he called me 88 Keys because I was on the Sonic ASR10 keyboard, not because I play keyboards, because I don't know how to play piano or anything like that. So he said that in the freestyle, so I told myself,